Some years ago now, a local historian was doing a project on the 1950s and asked me what school lads did as hobbies and interests in that period, the late 50s, early 60s. I explained that others, including myself, built radios from parts that they got from jumble sales, dismantled sets, televisions, what have you, built them up at home just for the sheer pleasure of it. This is one I built actually to show her how it was done. It's a simple set. It's a 3-valve plus rectifier, simple regenerative circuit with an amplifier and with a small mains power unit built into it to provide the heater voltages for the valves and the HT voltage for the valve anodes. I'll switch it on, we'll see if we can get a signal out of it. It's running on an aerial, about 20 feet of wire, and it's earthed through the 3-pin main socket here running off the 240 volt mains. I'll switch it on and see how she goes. Takes a little time to warm up, as all valve, or as the Americans call them, tube radios do.
Elevens everywhere else, right and chilly tonight, staying dry and bright, the outlook for tomorrow. My tunes.
Picks up quite a few stations on the medium wave band.
They raise both arms and keep them there. S. Speech. Is their speech slurred? T. Time. Just like a fire, it's time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. The faster you act.
Everly Brothers and Problem.
Quite selective too.
Dave Clark 5 patches if you can. M-Sound Radio, the best songs of all time. This morning we've been doing our Tri-Fest competition.
Merger with the Cooperative Financial Services at our annual general meeting. If you're eligible to vote, your pack will arrive by the end of March. Vote at any Britannia.
I'll turn it round and I'll show you the construction.
Or at the annual general meeting. Every vote earns a donation to charity.
Monday evening at 11, only on Gold. Gold. Offshore Holiday Park. Yummer proudly presents the ultimate Motown together. Motown, half-century spectacular. March the 27th to 30th. Featuring 12 incredible live...
Right, the construction is quite simple. It's 2 pieces of plywood covered with tin foil to act as a sort of earth return and chassis. There's a tuning coil here, wound, home wound, primary tuning coil, about 35 turns of wire for medium wave, overwound with about 10 for aerial coupling. The cathode of the regenerative detector valve is returned via a tap on the coil to earth to provide some electron feedback, obviously to provide the oscillating setting for the actual valve itself. It's the actual sensitivity of the valve, rather. It's the first valve is an RF pentode. It can be virtually anything, an EF39, a 6K7, any RF pentode will do. The tuning capacitor, there's only one half of this used. That's an old tuning capacitor out of a radio, typical of what you'd get out of a schoolboy's junk box. That's how I've built it, odd bits and pieces. One half of a tuning capacitor is used to tune the coil. The output of the first valve is fed into a second valve. That is a simple triode. That is an ML4, a 6J5. Any of that series of valves will do. Any triode valve will work, in fact, as an ordinary audio amplifier. And that's followed by an output valve. That particular one is a 6V6, which you can use virtually any output valve. And the power supply, the transformer, the rectifier and the smoothing capacitor and resistors are mounted underneath this little metal chassis here that just supports the whole thing, and that's the loudspeaker. So that is typical of a sort of radio set, medium wave radio that we would have built in the 1950s just for the fun of it.